book, that sometimes this book is presented to you, oh, I can't read it. Why? You learn, your parents spent all this time, getting a body out for you to go ahead and recite this Quran, and you finish a couple of times. And then of course, you got busy with school, you never opened this book again. And now this book seems like, gibberish and foreign language to you. That should not be the case. These are some of the very, very basic things that you need to be well-rounded in Quran, in prophetic traditions, in the biography of Ma'asumeen, and as well as your values, while exploring new horizons and ideas for the benefit of your career as well as your society. So the number one advice is be resilient like a date palm tree and all the other things that fall under its category. Now this second one might be specifically to those who are graduates. It may not apply to all of us, but nonetheless we throw it in there anyway, because it's still in our professional lives we make a lot of choices and we choose a lot of different paths, and sometimes we even change our paths. So don't box yourself in. What does that mean? Meaning while you have chosen an area or two to major in, make sure not to limit yourself only to those areas in academics, right? To be able to open up and explore other areas as well. Given the drastic changes in the world economy and the constantly evolving technology, you need to diversify your career options so that you're open to it and you're easily able to make that transfer and transition. So diversify your career options so that you're able to not only making a well-informed decision about your career path, but also having a backup to fall back on in case this path does not work out. This thing is no longer applicable. This is something which is now obsolete. So you're always able to run back and go to this plan B, for example. So don't want to box yourself into this one area and that's all I'm stuck in. That's the only degree that I have now, and I'm going to continue to try this. If it doesn't work out, then I'm going to, of course, go ahead and have some sort of odd job. Open the ideas of juggling, multiple jobs or contracts, as many industries are embracing the gig economy. So therefore, never think small of yourself and your academic potential. Always keep this to be an open area where you're able to explore other ideas. You can be the next change maker in your industry. Don't be defined by your degree. A lot of times we are defined by what we possess and the degrees that we have earned. Moreover, remember, this degree is not something which is promising you a risk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's promising you a risk, and the sustenance is from Him. For your share of wealth or fortune is already written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's number two. After number one, the resilience. Number two is you don't box yourself in. Number three, this is very important, and I think it serves a lesson to every walk of life, which is learn to fail. Right? Not everybody is bound to success at the first go. You're gonna have failures regardless, right? So learn to fail. Don't let failure define you. A lot of time, you gotta request our parents as well that how they start comparing the children with the children of others and their neighbors and their friends and their, for example, cousins and their colleagues. That's where sometimes we are demoralizing the children. While you gotta compare and you gotta give example to them of something which is not challenging their self-esteem and self-respect. So remember that you may fail, but you're not a failure, right? Failing is one thing, but to be considered a failure is another thing. Success in this life and the next comes from learning from your mistakes and failures. You think people who got to the highest of the levels in their industries, whether it comes to science and technology or when it comes to ilm and fiqh and the marajid that we have, the fuqaha that we have, all the 100,000 students that are studying in the Hawza of and Najaf, you only have a handful of marajid taqalid. You only have a few ayatullah that you can name and count on your finger. So the success that these 4 or 5 or the people of the past, right? How many of you can name the ulama of the past, of our scholars, right? It's a rich Islamic history for the past 1,200 years after the occultation of Imam of our time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 1,200 years since the Ghaibat al-Kubra. So therefore, how many scholars that have come and gone? But you only, if I was to ask you, not that I'm putting you on the spot over here, that how many of the great scholars of the past can you name? You know, you come up with Sheikh al-Mufid. You come up with Sheikh Tusi, for example, right? Sheikh al-Saduq, for example. Kulayni, for example. Hilli, for example. Majlisi, for example. You know, Fayyad al-Kashani, for example. These are the brightest of all, right? Handful of them. Does that mean these were the only ones? No, there were many. But they left a mark in the society, in the history, and as far as our knowledge, where these are the shining stars. Similarly, in all other industries that you find that there are many people, and if you ask all of these scholars that I just named, if you ask and read into their history and read into their biography, you'll find that many times they failed. And only then they bounced back to go ahead and be at the peak and at the top of what they were able to achieve. All the great scientists of our time, you go ahead and read their biographies, you'll find, were they able to produce this great discovery for the first time? No. Multiple failures led to that fine discovery, which now is beneficial to everyone in our society. So don't let the failure define you. You know, failing is one thing, and being called a failure is another thing. Never give up, just because it seems impossible. A lot of time, things do seem like a mountain ahead of you that you're not able to climb onto. So the world's best inventions and innovations came after hundreds of failed attempts. Imagine if scientists, mathematicians, physicians gave up on, you know, things like flying or the light bulb or electricity or the camera or the medical advances, the internet that we have, and all any of the technologies that we enjoy today after a couple of failures. Okay, I'm not doing this anymore. If they had stopped at that point after a couple of failures, then we wouldn't have all of these things that we have today. So you will fail, perhaps even many times. So draw your strength and courage, not only by believing in yourself and your abilities, but also by turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with sincere dua, since God is the source of all success in this life and as well as